After the death of Nikola Tesla, FBI agents burst into his hotel room and took absolutely everything: his diary, papers, even rough drafts. The archive was immediately stamped top secret, and its publication was banned for decades, not because of the death ray, not because of superweapons, not because of military technologies, but because Tesla wrote about life after death. At the end of this video, you will hear exactly what Tesla wrote about, what awaits a person after death, and what the human soul turns into after death. If these were just the fantasies of a crazy old man, why hide them deeper than nuclear secrets? Why did the FBI keep these records under lock and key longer than any military projects? What exactly did the great inventor discover that was considered dangerous for humanity even after his death? We are used to seeing Tesla only as the genius of electricity, formulas, blueprints, inventions that changed the world. But in his personal notes, a completely different story. Secret, mystical, shocking, about consciousness, about God, about the fact that death is not the end, but only a transition to a new form of existence. It was these thoughts that turned Tesla's entire archive into one of the biggest mysteries of the 20th century. Tesla was no fool. He perfectly understood. If the world learned his real conclusions, he would be declared insane. That's why he hid his diaries like the most precious treasure. He shared them only with the closest people, those he could trust with his life. But after his death in 1943, the FBI left no chance. They took everything. Classified stamp. Access closed for decades. In 1993, the supposed term expired. The archive was not opened. Extended for another 5 years. Then they dragged it out even longer. Only in 2011 was part of the documents finally released to the public. And what did the researchers see? The archive is incomplete. Tesla was a pedant to the point of obsession. He numbered every page, every notebook, every letter, every copy of a draft. From those numbers it became obvious. The most important records were missing. Some documents were stolen by Third Reich intelligence services while Tesla was still alive. Some are still kept in closed FBI vaults. And it is in these inaccessible papers, according to those who studied the remnants of the archive, that Tesla revealed the main thing, where his revolutionary ideas came from, and why he was convinced that after death we do not vanish into nothing. In the records that did become available, Tesla said it straight and without embellishment: "I did not invent inventions. They came to me ready-made, instantly, with schemes, principles, formulas." He discovered what he himself called the intelligent core of the universe. This is not just some abstract idea. It is a level of reality where all knowledge about everything that exists is concentrated. Not a part, not fragments. Absolutely everything. Past, present, future. The most terrifying thing for many is what Tesla claimed about the human brain. The brain does not create thoughts. It receives them. It works like a receiver, like an antenna, like a radio tuning into the frequency of the intelligent core. That is exactly how Tesla created his inventions, without years of calculations, without thousands of experiments. He simply entered the state, saw the finished solution, and transferred it to paper before the connection disappeared. These were not fantasies. Engineers who worked with him for years confirmed it. One of the most famous cases, the bladeless turbine of 1913. An engineer comes and says, "The turbine broke down." Tesla didn't even get up from his chair, didn't go to the factory, didn't look at blueprints, and he just said, "Come back in 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes he didn't see the mechanism, didn't touch it, had no information at all. But when the engineer returned, Tesla precisely pointed out exactly where the malfunction was and how to fix it. The inspection showed he was 100% right. After such stories, even the most stubborn skeptics had to admit Tesla had access to knowledge that cannot be obtained by ordinary means. And then he went even further. If there exists a source that contains all the knowledge of the universe, if mind is not a product of brain and matter, then what happens to consciousness when the body dies? In his diary, Tesla wrote, "Every new discovery brought him closer to realizing there exists a higher design, a law above all laws, a principle that governs reality but remains invisible to most." Thus, a convinced materialist, who in his youth was an atheist, although he grew up in a priest's family, came to a conclusion he himself feared. God exists, not as a religious dogma, not as a tradition or fairy tale, but as a fundamental reality that underlies everything that exists. He admitted, in his youth, he considered faith a weakness. But while studying the structure of the universe, he understood, behind everything stands something far greater. And a person comes to faith not through blind acceptance, but through doubt, search, and honesty with oneself. It was this understanding that pushed him toward the most dangerous question in the history of mankind. If consciousness does not disappear together with the body, what awaits us after death? Tesla was not a mystic or a prophet. He approached this as a physicist. He conducted his own closed experiments, the results of which he never published. And he reached a conclusion that still shocks. A human does not die. A human becomes light. The energy of light is older than matter. Light is the primary foundation of everything. Matter is only its condensed form. A human being is not a body by nature. A human being is light, temporarily imprisoned in flesh. When the body dies, the energy is released. It returns to its original state and continues to exist beyond the boundary that separates life from death. Tesla wrote clearly, "A person does not die. A person turns into light. The difference lies only in how you lived your life. The one who lived consciously, who was not a slave to passions and greed, is completely freed from matter, goes into more subtle levels of being. Their new horizons of cognition, freedom, understanding open up. But the one who all his life was a slave to earthly desires, after death does not get rid of them. He remains bound to those passions, but can no longer satisfy them." It was precisely this state that Tesla considered the true source of suffering. That is how, according to him, the image of hell arose. Light is fire, and fire purifies. The soul in such a state seems to burn itself. It gets rid of everything superfluous, everything dirty, everything that pulls downward, until its original, pure, luminous nature is revealed. This is not punishment from outside. This is an inner process of self-purification. Tesla understood, most people are not ready for such knowledge. They will reject it as madness, as a threat to their usual worldview. That is why he remained silent. That is why he did not rush to publish. But he was certain of one thing. Sooner or later, each of us will personally face this truth. Each of us will find out whether Tesla was right, when his time comes. And now the question is for you. Do you believe that Tesla really knew the secret of death? Do you agree that we become light? Or do you consider this the fantasy of a genius who lost his mind?